Why, hello. It's me, it's Madame Onça, and welcome to the very first evening of doing this little tarot talk here all together. We'll be working out some technical glitches, I'm sure, but it is my pleasure to be here with you. I want to take a moment to thank the person in the pit who is running the control room and making things as smooth as possible here, and will be helping me to stay in clear, joyful contact with y'all all night long. So the plan for this weekly event, which will be happening here at 8 o'clock on the Twitches and the book faces and the so forth. I'm going to share a little bit of information about tarot in a pedagogical sense, ask questions, or rather give you the opportunity to ask questions if you have any about the how-to, the where, whither, and why of tarot. And then if folks are so inclined, then I will be able to do readings for some folks. Just, 3-card spreads on the go. That part of the evening will be by donation, and it is my gift to you if you are unable to jump in with that, but folks who make a donation are going to get pushed to the front of the line because sometimes we find ourselves with a lot of folks who would like to get a reading. So those are kind of the house rules, I guess. Again, my name is Madame Onça, and I am the artist and co-author of the World Spirit Tarot, which is this little Jim Jam right there, and currently in its second edition. And this is the debut of my new tarot channel. So thank you for being here with me. What else can I tell you? In making my deck, for anybody who doesn't already know me, in the making of this deck, it was very important to me to put representation. I want to say front and foremost. Really, as an artist, I just absorbed the material, let it move through my body, my psyche, and come through me and be transformed in a way that made sense to me and hopefully makes sense to you. But part of that process for me was making art that was accessible and art that put representation to the fore. What that means is that when I sat down back in the day to learn tarot, both from an excellent mentor that I had, Kate Nordstrom, and also from the wide world of books, since this was pre-internets, I found very little representation in tarot of anything that I recognized as my life. I was living a very bohemian lifestyle, shall we say. I lived in a yurt out in the woods. I hauled my water. I worked at the food co-op. I was doing all of the sort of wild, footloose, fancy-free things, and I did not see a lot of folks in my life that looked like the very predictably thin, white, affluent people that I saw in the tarot of that time. So in making a deck for myself, I wanted to make a deck that reflected the people around me, and therefore my deck has people of all body types, of different levels of ability, of different ages, of different genders, different places in the gender spectrum. I just wanted to make it more real. So if that's useful for you, that's what my deck offers. There are nowadays, of course, there's lots of different decks that may meet that need for you. So the really important part is that you find a deck to work with that you like if you're interested in learning about the cards. I like to say at this point, there's a deck for every fandom, from baseball and Hello Kitty and pornography and Welcome to Night Vale, you name it. If there is something that you're interested in, there's probably a tarot deck for it. And I'm happy that mine has been joined by many other decks that make representation a priority. So anyway, that's what I want to say about that. What else can I tell you about me? Before we start talking about cards, I have had the pleasure of teaching tarot definitely all over the States. I think I even taught tarot on a cruise ship in the Caribbean one time. That might be the furthest afield that I have taught. But it's been my pleasure and privilege to teach all over the States anyway. And now in the online and internet times, I'm happy to be here with you. Oh, also, that reminds me, as you may know, here we are. I'm happy to be a guest of Nat 21 Adventures today. And part of what Nat 21 Adventures does in the before and afterscape of COVID is through Ren Adventures, offers adventure tours of other countries, like go places and play D&D, go places and learn about history and festivals and castles and adventure, all kinds of stuff. If it wasn't for COVID, today we would be leaving for the wine and witchcraft tour of Sicily. So hopefully that is going to be posted for the same time next year. So hopefully in the Afterscape, if you're interested in this sort of thing, it would have been myself teaching some tarot, the amazing witch and author, the Appalachian witch and elder Byron Ballard. Would have been a lot of fun, and hopefully it will be again in the future. So anyway, that's a lot of words, but I'm Madam Onça. Thank you for being here. Now, what I wanted to talk about right now, tonight, this is the beginning of a big project for me. Again, I've been teaching tarot and doing tarot-related art studies and so forth for decades now. But doing these kind of online classes and online engagement is something that has come to us in this modern period. I taught all throughout the first 6 months of COVID, took a quick sabbatical. Now we're back trying to figure out how to do this more, different, better. Also going to be giving more tarot perks to my Patreon folks, all that good stuff. But what I want to do here is I want to be able to share a little bit about tarot, how it works, what it does for us, how we can use it. Just get real comfortable with it. I want to help you learn how to use it if you're interested, or just share a bit about the history. And then, like I said, maybe read some cards. So that being said, I'm going to invite my operator here to open up here so you can look at some of these cards. Today is a new beginning for me as far as starting this project. So I wanted to put out some information about the ACES. If you didn't already know this, the ACES in the tarot are really one and the same with the ACES in your basic playing deck. And you may, in fact, have some darling, granny or a friend of the family who can read fortunes using, playing cards like poker cards. That's totally a thing. These cards, however, have the benefit of having really snazzy pictures. So here are my ACES. They're pretty traditional. If you've got a deck there with you, you are welcome to get it out and spread it out and find your ACES. They may or may not be lushly illustrated. They may be quite austere. Some of the really old decks were like a picture of a sword without any elaboration, a picture of a cup without elaboration. In this century, we have the benefit of an art explosion in the esoteric arts, shall we say. And so we get all kinds of great images. ACES, when they come up for you in a reading, they always represent new beginnings. Hence, I thought we would start with them tonight. And an ace is a gateway. When ace card comes up in your reading, it always suggests that you are standing on the edge, on the very threshold of the next phase of your life or your project, your next adventure. Each ace speaks to a different aspect of your life, as the cards do, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. But all aces suggest that you're standing there. It's not even the seedling; it is the seed. It is the raw potential that is represented in the card. So when the aces come up, again, it's generally very positive. It definitely describes a sense of a threshold, moving from one phase of life to another, which is why in my art, I wanted to represent that notion of a gateway. We have this very sort of clear yoni shape that suggests moving through a threshold. And when they come up, they are all about moving into the new. So with that new beginning, then you look at the different suits. In the tarot, sort of a typical traditional tarot. Now, if you work with oracle decks, you may find it's quite different. But in a typical traditional family tarot, you're going to find your wands, these cards here. Your wands cards speak to ambition, career, sort of willpower and drive, motivation. Sometimes I say it's the card of the bucket list. It's the how driven you are to get things done and move into the next stage. They're also about the element of fire and everything that represents in the esoteric tradition. So again, passion, heat, light, sometimes too much light. They can speak to burnout and overwhelm. But in general, it's everything that is sort of hot and vivacious, spicy and peppery, and all about getting a start. So that's wands in general. Cups are water, emotion. They are everything that is juicy. They are everything that is easily sloshed about. So they really speak to our, they're really cards about our relational qualities. So it's how we are with ourselves and how we are with others, how we experience our emotional life. For some folks, this is also their creative or spiritual suit. Kind of depends on the personality. So cups. Oh, and incidentally, in playing cards, wands are clubs, right? And these would be analogous to the hearts in your, your fortune-telling grandma's deck. When we see swords come up in the tarot, they are typically speaking about the element of air. Metaphorically speaking, everything that represents communication. In the modern era, possibly germs, and therefore boundaries, and being very clear about what is and isn't what you want based on your decisions, your boundaries, your information exchange, your intellect. So swords are very much the suit of air and making strong choices. The pentacles are earth. Oh, and of course, swords would be spades, espade in the old decks, and then pentacles. Pentacles are often also known as coins, stones, denier, earth. They just speak to the element of everything that is sort of incarnate, you might say. So the sort of pithy tarot speak is health and wealth. They speak to everything that is health and wealth based, and basically, it's the suit of everything that is practical. So while some of these other ones are more about how you feel, how you think, how you act, these cards are really about how you are in your body and with your resources. So to bring this concept of the ACES, that raw potential, standing in the threshold of something new and exciting and adventurous, together with each of these qualities, we find ourselves, when this card comes up, you may be standing in the threshold of the raw potential of a new ambitious project. Sometimes it can also be just a passion project, a movement in your career. There's definitely a sense of stepping into into the heat, stepping into the kitchen, the heat, the drive, and oftentimes this card will come up when you are literally stepping out with a torch to be in a sort of a leadership capacity, saying, I have plans. And that passion builds up your charisma and invites other folks along to support your adventures. So Ace of Wands, it is exactly, there you are, standing at the starting line. Now the Ace of Cups, this card is popular. And that is because, of course, some of the biggest questions people come to a tarot reader with, or a tarot reading with, are, tell me about career, tell me about health, tell me about relationship. So this card comes up, it's the relational card. When the Ace of Cups comes up, it may mean the beginning of a relationship. It can mean a change of your relationship with yourself, a beginning of sort of being emotionally available to yourself or other people again. So it's very much a card about, again, I think of these as, it's almost like water in a fishbowl. And so once you start moving through the cups, everything starts sloshing around. You move from stasis to potential to excitement and tenderness and vulnerability. So this card comes up when you're in the beginning of something that's going to hit you in the feels, if that makes sense to you. Then we come to our Ace of Swords. Swords, once again, we've got, that's intellect, that's thinking, that is thinking, talking, words, power, boundaries. It's very much about how we use the thing that makes us in some ways oh so human. And this is very much about making bold choices. This is about committing to ideas, logic, speaking your truth at times. Interestingly, as a historical aside, the Ace of Swords has a particular nuance. If you watch old movies, or you see, if you see Carmen, for example, which had a Theda Bara in it, and then it had Rita Hayworth play the same part of the fortune teller, they very dramatically put down the Ace of Spades. Dun, dun, dun. And it is very clear from context that that is a bad thing, because there's a lot of superstition around this card as speaking not only to the beginning of things, but to sharp endings. So while that doesn't come up very often in modern day tarot interpretations, it's interesting to note that this is definitely a card of bold steps. So be that, your dramatic ending, or very much stepping out of one period that ends and stepping into something new. Sharp decisions. And then we have that Ace of Pentacles. This one tends to come up if you are starting a really concrete project. That's sometimes, particularly in the now, that may be committing to self-care, committing to actually take care of yourself in this time that is potentially emotionally exhausting and also immunologically challenging. It is also likely to come up if you are, again, starting a new project, building a house, building a garden, thinking about starting a family, any of those things that are extremely practical. So aces, they're all about the starts, and then they just speak to their various houses. I will say, if you were to pull cards for, yourself, friend, family, client, whoever, and you get a preponderance of aces, that suggests that they may be starting over in a lot of places. It's very unusual to get more than one ace at a time, but it's definitely something to watch out for, as you will learn over time to look for preponderance of anything. Lots of threes, lots of wands, lots of people card, lots of major arcana. A lot of aces suggest that someone is really in a period of reinvention, let's say. So yeah, aces, that's what I wanted to share with you today. Also, there's a few amusing things about idiomatically about aces, because of course, in addition to the use of ace as a sexual identity these days for asexual, traditionally it has a lot of idiomatic uses, as far as if you aced it, that is because in most English-speaking countries, the ace is the first. It stands in for the one. The tarot deck goes ace, 2, 3, 4, etc. So it is to suggest that you are right at the front of the line. If you aced it, it suggests that you accomplished something, if not with ease, with complete success. Also, of course, if you have an ace up the sleeve, it suggests that you are willing and able to succeed by any means, even if they're sneaky, which of course is going to be a gambling reference to when you have the extra ace, up your sleeve, that you just sort of feed out into the table. I wonder if there's any other ace idioms that I wanted to mention to you. Aced it, ace up the sleeve. Oh, the World War flying ace too. I guess World War I flying ace. From what I read long ago, the French came up with this, and World War I flying ace was somebody who had 5 aviation kills or more. So the notion of being an ace, again, in this context, suggests success, that you are literally doing your job with flying colors. So the aces come up for us over and over again as sort of something suggesting some form of primacy. So there you go. If you have any questions about that or comments, please let me know. Anybody who happens to be out there. And if anybody would like a reading, let me know at this time. I'm happy to talk you through that process. I think I might start by doing a reading for the debut of this show. So I'm going to do a reading for myself, and I will talk you through that process. I'm trying to keep my hands in the frame here. What I do when I am reading for any topic, there's no right or wrong way to shuffle the cards. You can do whatever works for you, whatever helps you to find yourself in an intuitive state. But I generally get my cards in my left hand. I will just randomize them with the other hand. If you're a great shuffler, you are welcome to do whatever works for you. I'll just get them moving. And then, in the tradition of my tarot ancestors, I put the deck down, divide it into 3 piles, and just randomize it. If I'm working with a client during that period, I encourage the other person, the querent, the one who's wanting their cards to be read, I will encourage them to hold their question clearly in their mind. Now, in the non-corona times, I also generally hand the cards to other people and let them pull their own cards. Of course, for all of the reasons right now, I will be pulling the cards. But so I'm having divided them a few times. I then fan them out. Some folks will just read cards right off the top of the pile, or any number of ways. But this is how I learned it from my tarot mentor. Now, I generally feel through the cards for, I feel through them for any kind of a tingle of sensation in my hands, warm, cold, anything that catches my attention as I continuously hold my question in my mind. Recently, I have been experimenting with, rather than relying on my hands, I've been trying to feel that tingle up in my third eye, if that makes sense to you, if you can understand that. Feel inside your skull for it. Feel where the tingle is, because a lot of tarot is all about trusting your instincts. So my question is just, what do we need to know about developing this program in the months to come? Making it everything it needs to be to meet the needs of folks who are jazzed about tarot, friends, fans, and Patreons. Great. Excellent. All right. Now, here's the part where the question always comes up around reversals. I don't generally read reversals. Sometimes I will, which is to say, when the card flips over, do you, if it's upside down, do you turn it back up or do you just read it upside down? I generally don't do reversals, but some folks do. Hey, look, an ace. What a coincidence. And the Chariot. Ooh, and the Hierophant. In reading cards, the first thing, again, that I look for is a whole bunch of anything. I guess these need to be over here, don't they? I try to look for any preponderance of things. In this case, I pulled 3 cards, and 2 of them are major arcana. So that actually makes me feel good, because I feel like, I know for me, approaching teaching tarot in this way is new. There are technological challenges. It's a lot of pieces for me to keep track of. It's taking the intuitive life and the knowledge that I've accrued over time. I almost said centuries, maybe not centuries, but the knowledge I've accrued over time, and delivering intuitive information to you in a way with all of this technology. It's going to take me a minute. So it feels like a big deal. And the cards clearly know that because I have 2 major arcana. And then here's our friend, the ace. If you saw me talk about that at the beginning, you can tell right away. This is about me needing to make strong decisions and commit to them. This is also very much about me being a teaching communicator, because it's not just what I know, it's how well I can share it with you, and almost how I can, dare I say, like gamify it for you, how I can share this information with you in a way that is enjoyable to receive. When I first started to learn tarot, it was about sitting down with the miserable little white book and trying to understand what in the world that had to do with my questions, my inner world. So I want to make this as accessible for you as I can. I really believe that the tarot is only occult, meaning mysterious, because you haven't had a chance to learn it yet. We can make it accessible together. So this card really suggests to me that it's not only about making decisions and trying to wed my intuitive choices, my intuitive drive, with logic and due diligence, but also learning to communicate clearly using all of these. If you could see me, I'm surrounded by lights and cameras and microphones. There's a lot going on for me to just have this moment with you. So the ace says all of those things. It probably speaks a little bit also to the nerves. You can see there's a lot of energy sort of blowing through that. And there's a lot of energy in this moment that wants to be channeled. And it's sort of shooting out all over, trying to figure out where to be. Speaking of which, that brings me to the Chariot. Now, the Chariot is a card. Boop. Wish I could like zoom it in for you. Chariot. This is the card my teacher used to say, all dressed up and not sure where to go. Another way that I think about the Chariot, it's as if you are sitting, I should turn these around so you can see them. Does that help? Yes. It's as if you are sitting in the driveway, all jazzed up, fired up about your good ideas, and but you've got one foot on the gas and one foot on the brakes. So all of the energy, all of the power. Thank you, magical operator. How about if I bring it here, this way? There we go. See, there's the Chariot. Ah. See, he has these mythical beasts, these sort of chimeras, and it's a matter of figuring out how to take all of your personal power and get it moving in the direction you want to go. So the Chariot really comes up when you're just waiting for your moment. You're just waiting for the opportunity to commit. With this show, I had been intending to start it about 2 weeks ago, but frankly, everything went into retrograde right around then, and I figured life was hard enough without trying to manage all that sort of crazy full moon energy. And even if you don't believe in that sort of thing, some of the people around you do, and it may affect your environment. So I decided to just wait until less of a intimidating moment. Maybe that's not the right word, but I was like, why make it harder for myself? I'm already learning a new skill set as far as interfacing with all the technology and, the Twitches for witches and all of the things. So the Chariot is really me finally getting ready to zoom out of the proverbial energetic driveway. And then we come to the Hierophant. This is a card that can bring up issues for people who are challenged by formatting. I actually like the Hierophant myself. It is a card of study. There's an element of humility or humbleness, dare I say, that is implicit in this card. If you can see here, we've got the figure of the sort of Aztec priest, and he is doing the as above, so below. He's holding the torch that suggests he has the sort of the light, the way to literally can light the way. And then there are folks on the sort of supplicating themselves at the feet of the Hierophant. This is the card that suggests sometimes we can't figure everything out on our own, and it is time to learn from others. Be that taking a class, getting a mentor, going back to school, just being schooled. So this, to me, suggests very much that I'm going to have to really commit to the parts of this that have been intimidating for me, which is really all of the technology. The same thing was true for me in performance. I was always musically inclined, but I was always intimidated by microphones. And it took quite a while for me to be comfortable embracing that aspect of my life as a performer. If you want to walk around and sing because it enriches your life to walk around and sing, that's great. But if you want to share that in the most effective possible way, if you're there to share what you're doing, accepting the help of technology is key. I struggled with it with microphones, and then I got over it, and now I'm going to do the same thing with all of this. Let me see. I can see up here that I have a comment here from BLC Blondie saying that what's going on astrologically definitely affects the class of kids. I'm sure that's the case. Yes, thank you very much. So what I see here in this reading for myself is that I just need to double down on moving forward with confidence, moving forward with commitment and humility, and that it will get better over time, though the blade may cut. So that's what I see there. When I'm done with the reading, I often, if I'm working with a client, I'll encourage them to take a picture so you can take it home with you and have the opportunity to think about it. That way also even if they don't have a tarot deck at home, because if they have a deck, I'll say, get those same cards out and spend some more time with them so you can ask me questions later. If they don't have a deck, then I will encourage them to just go look the images up online. Spend more time learning about them, immersing yourself in them and the cards. The trick with the cards, there's two main aspects, I would say. One is, and that is the memorization, or making the associations, where you learn to recognize each card brings a certain set of images, metaphors, experiences, resonance, historically accrued meaning. So there's the learning that part. And then there's the part where we learn to parse it together with our intuition. And if you have a great memory, that part's easy, but it's learning to piece the parts together is the tricky part. an analogy, if you're a person who likes to dance, you may be good at learning individual moves, but learning to thread them together into something that feels like artistry, that's your challenge. And so that's kind of where I am with tarot, and encouraging people to study and get immersed. So once they get their picture taken, we say, bye cards, and roll them on up. Yes, as somebody is pointing out in the chat, it is essentially a function of getting over stage fright. I have no stage fright in front of a crowd of 900 people these days, but learning to have that same level of comfort and confidence with this interface, that's the adventure that I'm on next. So is there anybody out there who would like me to do a reading for them, or shall I just keep rolling? There's no pressure either way. And we've got a little bit more time set aside on our slate for tonight. It is interesting to me. I did a miniature test run. Why don't we pop the camera up on my face instead of the tablecloth? If you would, Mr. Controller. There we go. Look, it's me. I did a miniature test run the other day here with the cards, and I found myself with an enormous line. And I aspire to be able to have that and do that for people. But it actually, the line got a little long. It was also my opportunity to learn about interfacing with the trolls aspect. Trying to be in the intuitive place and also manage some of the strangeness that comes up in the Twitch was quite a thing. It's all part of the learning curve. It's all part of that Ace of Swords and that higher font. Okay. So I'm actually going to pull some more cards right now, and I will talk you through it. Once again, I'm going to smear them out. There's no right or wrong way to select your cards. You just find the thing that works for you. Likewise, when it comes to storing your cards, there's no one particular way to do it. Some folks are very particular about keeping them in a special box. In fact, here's an example of one of my special boxes. There's a lovely handmade box that I used to keep my my Thoth deck. It's all swanky. It has a very ritualistic feel. You know, it's all that. It's got poems and sigils and everything. So, you know, you may be a person who wants to use a very formal sort of thing, or you may just have gotten a deck that has a really great, handy, durable box like this, which is good enough for years. There's no right or wrong way to store them. There's no right or wrong way to read them. You just want to treat them with tools. Hi out there. Treat them with respect like you do all your tools. Okay, so I'm going to pull a few more cards. And if anybody would like a reading after this, let me know. Or just generally has questions. I'm totally open to answering your questions about the cards. So once again, I'm feeling for hot spots, cool spots, tingly spots. Sometimes a card will just jump out of the deck. You always accept the volunteer. Unlike with a drunk audience in a real live show, you may not want to take the volunteer that throws themselves at you. With a tarot card, you always do. Okay. Okay, so hey, Zalani. Hey, look, there's the chariot again. Ooh. Oh, right. I need to, now, well, I'm going to put these where the camera can see them. Action cam. Engage. Boop, 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 boop. And I got to pull them back. Okay, so these represent. Right. These represent months. Right? I know. My favorite. What I was asking about is what's going on as far as, I've got kids. there's a pandemic. We're dealing with chronic illness in the family, and I was looking ahead to what the months ahead might hold as far as that goes. And this would be for the month of March. So for March, we have the Sibyl of Pentacles. Again, you look at your reading and say, what do I have a lot of? Well, once again, I find myself with a lot of major arcana. These are the big cards. They have a lot to say in very loud terms. It's as if they're yelling. But this card is a little more mild-mannered. And the Sibyl of Pentacles, she is... the Sibyls are analogous to the queens. They have sovereignty. They have self-awareness. They are self-possessed. They have wisdom, you might say. So it's not just smarts, but they are talking to you about the wisdom that you earn because you learn as you burn. So Pentacles, Earth, practicality. So here we have this queenly, sovereign personality of the practical things. So again, health and wealth. Health is really what I was talking about here, sort of how we're managing our how we're managing our spoons, you might say, in the time to come. And so March looks okay. she's abundant. She is grounded. She's not going anywhere in a hurry, but who is right now? So she tells me that, at a glance, that March looks good. Then we come to the Tower. The Tower is not a card that we're usually excited to see. Yes, the deck. Oops, all towers. But I will say the great thing about the Tower is that when this card comes up, you have found something out that you needed to know. It is inevitably, it is like lancing the boil that you didn't know you had. It is the opening your closet to find out that it is full of moths and they are eating all your stuff. You're sad to find it out, but it's better than not knowing. So the Tower coming up for April suggests that that our family may have some things to negotiate on the health and wealth front as far as kids and chronic illness in the month of April. The Tower literally refers to, historically, it's sometimes known as the lightning struck tower. And you can perhaps see there's a figure being struck and sort of falling from a great height. This card literally means a radical change of perspective. It is something that perhaps needed to happen. It's what you needed to know, but it is often hard to be excited as you are in that amount of time between when you get the information and when you hit the flagstones below. So towers are a card where, as a reader, you find yourself employing a great deal of diplomacy in order to describe to a querent what this means for them. So for us, it means, oops, April could be interesting. And then again, we see our friend the Chariot, who we've talked about already. And the Chariot is all about that energy is revving and building and potential is there and trying to poise yourself to make choices about moving forward. Again, are you taking your foot off the gas or the brake? Because you can't do both forever. So to me, that looks like it's going to be fine for a while. And then as the weather starts to warm up, things are going to get intense for us around here. Good to know as a person who is launching a big project about the tarot that's going to take some time and care and loving stewardship. And then the Chariot suggests things will have the potential to really start moving around here and making changes. We see that's March, April, May. So in May, we may be able to see things moving. It's possible that some of that might have to do with the prevalence of the vaccine too. I mean, it could be everybody starting to be able to have a little bit more mobility in our lives. So that's what I'm going to assume here about that. Again, if you decide that you really like tarot, one of the things you can do is keep a tarot journal. In fact, there's an app that I'll recommend right off the top of my head called The Golden Thread. I have nothing to do with how it came to be in the world, but it's a clever little card a day kind of app where you can do tarot stuff in your phone. And the greatest thing about it, in my opinion, is that it has sort of an easy built-in journaling system where you can say, this is the card I got. This is how I feel about it. And so you can look back next year at this date and go, oh, right, that was the day that I got these cards. How did I feel about it? How did that pan out? So whether you do it with the world of digital technology or, plain old journals like this, it's actually really great to track your progress with cards, because there comes a time when you have to say goodbye cards and put them all away. Okay. So I'm going to read for BLC Blondie. And you have the option here of deciding if there's something particular that you would like to know about, or if you just want a general reading. There's no right or wrong. You just decide. And were we together, I would encourage you to take a deep breath with me. Just try to arrive in the moment. And I'm going to pull 3 cards for you. Great. Excellent. All right. Now, sometimes I'll be doing like a corporate gig where there's, 100 people, in line because they have set me up near the bar or something. There's 100 enthusiasts standing by, and the readings at that point become a little faster, a little bit party style. I know that there's another reader out there in the comments who also reads at parties. You understand, but in this case, we have a little room to spread out. So I will say the cards feel very lively. Sometimes they feel a little bit like, and maybe it's just my internal energy because I'm a little hyped up from being here, but it's like the cards feel like somebody shook a can of seltzer. I feel like I should have a card pulling music for when that's happening. I'm just staring into my inner void and pulling cards. Do, 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 do. We have the great opening and closing music that I'll be using for this show come from the band Charming Disaster, who were gracious enough to let me use some of their music. Maybe I'll use some as a musical overlay. Ooh, the 5 of Pentacles. That's very exciting. And the 9 of Wands and the Ace of Pentacles. See, ACES. ACES for everybody. There we go. Fantastic. And again, if you are so inclined, you are welcome to throw a donation down in my Venmo, et cetera, et cetera. But if not, I'm just happy to be here with everybody tonight. So here we have that ace talking about raw beginnings. Beginning of a garden, beginning of a home, beginning of a family, beginning of a new project, beginning of a new relationship with your resources, with your health and your wealth. That's what that Ace of Pentacles speaks to, all of that raw potential. Where are you going to go with it? It's really a matter of, it's as if the cards are saying it's right there for you, but you will still need to make some choices about whether to step through that door. Are you planting the seed in your hand? Are you making the choice? Are you going to the gym? Are you starting the garden? Are you commencing the project? Are you, commencing to do the 30-day workout? Whatever the project is for you, you'll need to make choices. Now you have 2 Pentacles cards here bracketing it, which is nice to notice. And those, of course, that means you've got, there's extra weight in here in this subject of health and wealth for you. Now, 5 of Pentacles, you can see here, this person looks like they perhaps are not having their best day. It's a little cold. This could be us tomorrow. I don't know where everybody is, but we are about to get hit with some serious weather, perhaps. So this card comes up when you are looking at upheaval. And again, who hasn't had some upheaval in the recents? 5s in the tarot always speak to chaos. They suggest that all of the sort of wisdom and progress that we have earned through our ace and our 2 and our 3 and our 4, we come to the 5 and we have learned something about the way that we think our lives are. The 5 comes up and it suggests that there's an element of chaos introduced. So this card suggests needing to be extremely crafty in order to navigate a challenging period as far as managing your resources. Again, that can be speaking to health, can be speaking to wealth, can be speaking to managing a project, can be managing your energy level, because these times they are taxing. But so expect, on the one hand, you've got all of this sort of glorious abundance and vitality. Over here, on the other hand, it's like the tax man cometh. There's maybe some kind of something that needs to be paid in order to keep things moving. And then the 9 of Wands. Wands are fire, ambition, drive, passion. And this card is definitely about getting out there and doing it. So I also think this card tends to come up a little bit when we are doing the thing that we want to do, but doing it to such a level that it starts to feel like work. So what this card suggests is lean into your passions during this time, but don't let yourself get burned out. That's how I would take that. You can see they are excited. They are fully engaged with their wand. They are illuminating everything around them, but it's starting to feel a little frantic. So what I would say for my friend for whom I'm reading these cards, again, there's this notion of there's some choices to be made about moving forward, an investment of energy, caring, time, money, resources, spoons. There is some vigilance that may be necessary as we are still in a time of great uncertainty with some real randomizing elements out there like viruses and economic challenges and travel uncertainty. And then this guy suggests could be fine. Just use your best practices of stewardship and vigilance without stressing yourself out. So that's what the cards have to say about that. I hope it's useful. And for the folks that have popped in while I was talking, thank you for joining us for my very first round of making this tarot thing happen here on the Twitch and so forth. If anybody wants a reading, let me know. And or if you just have questions about tarot-related stuff, I'm totally here for that too. I want to take a moment to thank, my pleasure. You're welcome. Take a moment again to thank the operator over there who's making everything happen, because trying to be with you in the intuitive zone and maneuver the cards, move around the archetypes, and also push all the buttons might be hard to do all at once. I will say, when it comes to tarot, like people ask, what kind of questions can tarot answer? It has been posited that tarot is good for medium range plans. All right, let's back that up. Why does tarot work? There's no good reason for tarot to work unless you believe that the universe is connected by any kind of underlying logic that isn't strictly what science currently recognizes. If that's where you are, I don't know what I can tell you. My experience as a fairly sensible person is that tarot offers us a metaphorical language, like the language of dreams, to understand and interpret the events that are unfolding in our lives and the world around us. If you have a dream about your teeth falling out and being on a mountaintop and a giant wave, you don't wake up thinking that is literal. You wake up thinking, when your teeth fall out, that usually means that you're feeling out of control in your life. When you are standing in a mountaintop, that suggests you need to get some kind of a bigger vista. We have a dream language that everybody can interpret for themselves in order to get some information about what's going on in the deepest parts of our psyches. Tarot is like that. It's not a literal mirror. It is a metaphorical mirror. So that being said, it is really potentially very useful for understanding sort of medium range events in our life, like based on what you are like, and based on the choices you are inclined to make, and based on the environment in which you find yourself. This is how things are likely to go. If you don't like the reading, you can either deny that this sort of thing works, and that's fine, or you can change yourself, change your circumstances in order to change the outcome of your cards. I am not an expert in Lenormand cards, but I live with someone who is learning them, and those apparently are really great for like dealing with day-to-day, extremely practical stuff. If you want to have sort of a Pinterest board of images to bounce your thoughts off of, that is Lenormand. I feel like tarot is good for the week. It's good for the month. It may even be good for the year, but maybe not the decades per se, because you have free will. There's so many opportunities for you to change your life and your fate right in there. We would like to think that those things are not predetermined. So what kind of questions can you ask? You can ask yes or no questions. Those are easy. Those are easily addressed, I should say. You can ask, what is my life likely to do? Based on who I am and what I generally do, kind of questions. You can ask, I've got multiple options here. Should I take this job or that job or this job or that relationship? Those kind of questions are easy to lean into with the cards. They cannot tell you things like, should I wear purple pants or black pants this morning? They just don't have a metaphorical language for that. If you think of it in terms of, if someone could only draw you a picture to answer you a question, kind of like spiritual charades, then the cards are a resource for you. But there are some places in your life, where there are just perhaps better tools. There are, of course, also many other kinds of divination for folks who are divinatorily inclined. Some folks use runes, and some folks use pendulums, and some folks use the I Ching. Carl Jung, a founder of modern psychology, used the I Ching every single day. Didn't leave his office without it. So there's lots of kinds of systems that may work for you if you'd like something to bounce your thoughts off. I just like the tarot because as an artist, I respond really well to pictures. As a Gemini, thinking, airy person, I also like words and communication. So for me, the tarot turned out to be the perfect sort of mid-range tool. Well, we've got a few more minutes left, and I'm going to do one more quick spread here. I'm going to demonstrate for y'all what a yes-no wildcard spread might look like. Again, today is our test run to learn how some of these systems work. So part of this is me learning to gauge what the camera needs to see. So, yes, no, maybe. Once again, there's no right or wrong way to shuffle your cards. Anything that leaves your cards fundamentally undamaged is acceptable. Once again, composing my thoughts as I shuffle. My traditional 3 piles. You can also do those 3 piles 3 times if you're predisposed to a sort of very ritualistic approach. For the purposes of this demonstration, rather than spread them out, I'm going to just pull them off the top. So I'm going to say, this is my yes, this is my no, this is my wild card. Here's my deck. We're going to try to get those in the camera. I'm like a little kid. I need a placemat to tell me where to be. About there. So this was my yes. The Emperor. This is my no. The Empress. Wow, that's all good choices as far as I'm concerned. And the Two of Wands. So for the sake of the demonstration, I just asked the quick question in my mind, like, is it time to try to replace one of our cars? We've got old cars. We're artists. Every year that you get out of them, every next 50,000 miles you get out of them is great. But, at some point you're going to have to make a choice to set aside many pentacles, many resources to try to address that and get ahead of needing a car before one of them breaks down. We're busy. We travel a lot in the normal time. Transportation is essential for us. So is now a good time to start thinking about replacing car? I got the Emperor as my yes. I got the Empress as my no. I have to tell you, those two, since they complement each other so nicely, it's the cards are kind of teasing me because it's almost like they know that this is just a demonstration for your purposes. And then the Two of Wands. But I will talk you through what these have to say. So my yes card in this case is the Emperor. The Emperor is the card of, he's the card of infrastructure. He's the card of making big logical choices that see the big picture and are very much invested in designing and perpetuating systems, for better or for worse. An emperor run amok, of course, is a mad dictator and with dangerous dogma. But an emperor at its best is sort of the father principle in its most benevolent aspect. It is roads that work and libraries and health insurance for everyone, all that sort of thing, all the sort of things that we might hope to have in a safe, structured society. Guess what my biases are? So having the Emperor come up in the yes, it's a good time to start thinking about that. I feel like I'm getting the pat on the shoulder from the universe saying, it's not a good time to spend a lot of money or to take on anything big. But the Emperor does think it would be smart to start considering how we can replace one of our old cars with something a little newer and fresher. But the no, it's not a good time card. Not a good time for that card. You'll see I have the Empress. Now, we may perhaps have a tendency to perceive the the no card in this context. It's not that it's bad, because the Empress is a lovely card, but everything that she speaks to is a lot less structured. The Empress is very much about she's very much about sort of abundance, pleasure. It's as if the Earth Mother were embodied in a card to suggest, like, what's the hurry? Enjoy yourself. Lie around in the sun. Don't worry about all this structure, all these buildings that were designed to code to emphasize safety. Don't bother with buildings. Just lay around outside in the sun. So the Empress, while she's a really positive card, does not bring a lot to the structured conversation around, like, but does it make sense to start trying to figure out how to replace your old card? So you look at the card that says yes, and you look at the card that says no. You consider them, even if, what if I had gotten a terrifying card over here in my yes category? You have to weigh out the challenge. The challenge is weighing out the difference between the message that the card brings you, metaphorically speaking, and the position in which you have laid it. There's a conversation between those two, and you have to parse that out. It's just a matter of spending some time. And then the wild card is the one that says, here's the part you didn't think of yet. So in this case, we get the Two of Wands. Wands, as we have mentioned, is fire, ambition, drive, willpower. And the two is really the very beginnings of the process of formulation of a plan. So this is really saying, it's a good thing to think about. You don't want to put this off forever. But this card really suggests, while you don't need to hurry, it's a good time to start weighing, measuring, evaluating what you can afford. When is a good time to try to get something on the road? As we all know, the DMV is not functioning at its maybe maximum capacity right now. So it's not maybe a great time to try to get something on the road. So this card suggests what that we haven't thought of yet is putting in the time to prepare for later when we are able to take action. So she says, he says, absolutely. And this one says, well, but don't hurry, deliberate. So that's how I might interpret a yes-no wildcard spread. It is a super easy, accessible spread for somebody who's just trying to get a handle on how to answer just basic practical questions for yourself. So I thank you for being with me during that process. Again, my name is Madam Onça, and this is the test run of our Tarot Talks. Hey, there I am. Of our Tarot Talks here. We'll probably give it a snazzy name. I want to thank Sako Toomey, who was nice enough to build the show bumpers for me, the beginning and the end. And again, Charming Disaster, the band, they are fantastic. I highly recommend that you look them up on the internets and support them in their music. They also are running very charming quarantine live streams through this time period to keep everyone's spirits up. Again, thanks to my operator here at Awesome Town Studios. I'm Madam Onça. I made the World Spirit Tarot, and I will be doing weekly live streams that are both educational, hopefully infotainable, and I'll also be producing additional material from my years of experience and research to put into my Patreon. So if you like tarot or you know folks who are interested in that sort of thing, by all means, look me up on the Patreons, and I will be back here certainly this time next week, and very likely also in between. Thank you so much. I'm Madam Onça. Have a wonderful evening.